Welcome back, you lovely lot, to Callan on Cars, and something a little bit different for you this time around. Now, I'm in Monaco and I'm in a suit, and that could mean one of two things. The first is that I've been picked up for some kind of traffic problem, and that's quite believable. But the real reason is behind me. It is 50 years of the IM Group of International Motors. Now, you may not know who they are, but I guarantee you'll know their cars. And as part of the 50-year celebration, we're going to go through some of the greatest hits that we've gathered here in Monaco tonight. Some of them are mine, and I'm very excited about that. But here are some of the greatest cars that International Motors have brought into the country over the last 50 years. Now, this is one you may know. This is quite a rare old bus now. This is the Isuzu Trooper, and this is my own car. So I'm very chuffed to have it brought out all the way here to Monaco. It's an interesting story. Bob Edmiston, the guy that set International Motors running, basically managed to get hold of the Isuzu franchise when the previous incumbent ran into a little bother. The Piazza Turbo was the car that everyone was driving at the time, and this was a relatively new thing. Now, if you had money, if you wanted a 4x4, Japanese were starting to come into the market, but generally speaking, if you had a few quid, you bought a Range Rover, and what Isuzu did very, very well was to create basically the same ingredients that both the horse set and the farming set bought, but at a much lower price. Now, this is the Citation model, which is pretty much the top of the range, and it's got some lovely things. It's got some accessory alloys on it as well. Walking back, it's got the accessory steering wheel, but the amazing thing about this particular vehicle, which I bought for £1,500 about 8 years ago, is that everything you see, all of the paint, everything on it is completely unrestored. Now, the lovely people at Ryder Street, which is Isuzu's press office, have given it a scrub and a polish, but apart from that, she's actually rolled off the factory floor. Now, this is one of my favourite cars that Subaru ever did. This delivered on a motor show concept so faithfully. It was so accurate to what they promised in the late 80s, and they pretty much built it. And why that's interesting is for two reasons. First of all, Japanese cars, you get wonderful Japanese reliability, build quality, but designed by Subaru. So here you have a car designed by the Italians, built by the Japanese, which to me is probably the most amazing combination you could get. But the other thing that's amazing about the SVX is Subaru really took a quantum leap in terms of technology as to what they wanted to do. But what you have to remember is at the end of the 80s, the start of the 90s, Subaru were selling cars in tractor dealerships, and they were pretty utilitarian. They were robust, they were stylish, they were well made, and they were reliable, but what they weren't is prestigious or luxurious. And the whole point of the SVX was to move the brand somewhere else completely. So this is a 3.3 flat six, believe it or not. It's an automatic. You could only get it as a GT spec car, but it had climate control, it had leather seats, it had electric seats, it had every single conceivable option you might expect of a car from that era, but just not from Subaru. They were trying to go head to head with manufacturers like Porsche to create a true sports coupe that the average enthusiast could afford. But it was an expensive car, almost double the bottom of the range car. So they didn't sell very many, which I think is a great shame. But if you look at it, I think it's a bit of a stunner. So this is a really interesting detail. This is something Subaru did called glass to canopy. And the idea of this, they wanted the glass to sit as high as possible, but also the glass to curve into the roof. So the roof would be smaller and the glass would curve into it. The problem is when you do that, is the glass then can't sit down into the door. You can't get a drop glass. So the solution was this, two windows effectively, a fixed upper half, and then a drop glass that goes into this very Zagato-esque line around the edge. And that's how they got around it. So it makes the SVX incredibly distinctive. As I said, the only other manufacturer or designer that does that really is Zagato, but this was not Zagato prices. Now this one, a lot of people haven't seen, they're aware of it, particularly if you've ever seen this film Big. It's the car he gets into at the end of the whole film. It's what his girlfriend actually drives, believe it or not. The Subaru XT really was totally bonkers. The SVX was mad, but prior to that came this. And this was Subaru doing what Subaru does best, which is weird, wacky, and wonderful. It's almost Citroen-esque in some of its design detail. This is true origami styling, so basically folded edge. And it was at the time a technical tour de force, a bit like the SVX that came later, because you could get in some of the cars turbocharged, digital dashboard, self-leveling, variable 2- and 4-wheel drive, very, very trick stuff. But this particular one is quite basic. This is one that I got from America. And what's amazing about this is pretty much cooking specs. This is 2-wheel drive, little injection engine, manual. So it wasn't technically one that International Motors brought in, but it was the nicest one I could find in rust-free condition. And she looks good, I think. It's also got, I think, perhaps the cleverest door handle ever fitted to a car. They were trying to get a low coefficient of drag, which they did. But if you look how they achieved it, it's this door handle. So your finger slides in the bottom, picks up the top, and as you do that, the handle goes flush. Now this one's very special. You probably recognise it's an Impreza hatch or WRX STI hatch, but this is actually the Cosworth CS400. And the whole point of these, Subaru's legendary at doing special editions. You'll have heard of them all, the Terzo, the P1, the RB320, but this one was working with Cosworth, which in itself is an amazing name. The whole point was to create the ultimate supercar slayer that you and the family and the dog could all get in the back of. So these, believe it or not, with a 2.5 litre forged engine, all sorts of crazy trick bits, I-back suspension, Bilstein dampers, Team Dynamics wheels, special interior. These could do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. They were a genuinely quick car, faster than a lot of contemporary supercars. Also very expensive, about £50,000, these cars. They took a little while to sell, to be honest, because not everybody understood how amazing they were. But fast forward to today, everybody's now realised they're a bona fide classic. They're worth an absolute fortune. And I was lucky enough to take one of these, one of the early development cars around Castle Combe in period, back in about 2011. And to my word, it was an experience. So I've got the standard STI. This is a little notch above. And because this is Andrew Edmiston's car, one of the family that owns International Motors, it's in 1 of 1 red. So you'll never find another CS400 in red. Would I like to own this car? Like you wouldn't believe. Now this one isn't mine, and I wish it was. I'm going to try and find out who owns this because it's a magnificent example. You may have heard of the Subaru Brat, the pickup. What the technical name, the proper name for that, is the MV, and this is the first one, which I think is even more shapely and lovely than the more wedgy 80s one. This was Subaru doing what Subaru really set out to do, which was to create utilitarian vehicles that farmers would use. And these were a massive hit in farming communities. In fact, so much so that when this model was phased out, many farmers bought one and then bought a spare, knowing that would just give them everything they needed for all the years going forward. It's just a really clever little package. Little 1600 engine in the early ones, 1800 engine in the later ones. Symmetrical all-wheel drive that's just hooked up all the time, but lightweight, could go anywhere, so you could get your bales in your back, your sheep in the back, whatever you needed it to do. But the problem with this model, it was almost too good. And obviously what Subaru were trying to do, particularly as the rally era came around, was to go up market, and having a cheap, lightweight commercial that farmers love to buy wasn't quite the brand fit that they wanted. So that's why, sadly, it was dropped from the range. But that's why today, because they all rotted away and literally got worked to death, that's why they're so valuable and so cool. Inside the Grimaldi Forum was a full-on party, and the car that started everything for International Motors way back in 1976, the Jensen Interceptor. Lord Edmiston basically saved the remnants of Jensen, made sure there were parts and service for everybody, and this was the car that did it. After that, he started importing Subaru, and the rest is literally history. And talking of Subaru history, this is perhaps as iconic and as special as it gets. This is the car that made me desperately want to own a 22B back in the day. Richard Burns, Robert Reed's actual Safari rally car, complete with Richard's overalls. To be up close and personal with this car and all the memories that it brought back was pretty magical for me. The car is immaculate. It's obviously been lovingly restored by ProDrive. It's still in their heritage collection. And just look at it. This was it, wasn't it? Subaru versus Mitsubishi, once arch rivals, now stablemates. And of course, a little bit of looking forward along with this retrospective. The new Subaru Uncharted, another fantastic joint development with Toyota, and one I'm looking forward to driving, actually. A handsome beast. But I better leg it because they're literally calling us to our seats. Now the party's about to start, so I better go. But an honourable mention for the Daihatsu Copen, fantastic little 2-seat roadster. The new Mitsubishi Outlander, which is coming back, which is amazing because Mitsubishi's coming back to the UK. And of course, the Arctic Trucks 8035. But that's it, the party literally is going. It's 7:30. Do like and subscribe. Do let me know which is your favourite out of all this lot. And of course, do go to your local Subaru dealer and buy one. Thanks for walking through my shop.